What's going on, Not Move Nation? Welcome to the Not Move podcast. Today is January 21st at 5:18 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm just going to be breaking down the games a little bit. I'm not going to go through my usual thorough research. So, first thing I want to do is update you guys with some injuries here in the NBA today. There's 7 games on tonight. Let's start off with Cade Cunningham, point guard for the Detroit Pistons. He is questionable to play tonight due to an illness. Typically, when players are questionable, there's a 50-50 chance that they play. So we will see about that. Um, I'm also just wanted to mention that I'm using rotowire.com, ROTO wire.com for my injury updates and the FanDuel Daily Fantasy app. I find that those sources have been the most reliable for me. When it comes to injury updates, Jaylen Brown, shooting guard slash small forward for the Boston Celtics, is probable to play tonight with left hamstring tightness. When players are probable, that's saying that they will probably play tonight. It's rare where I see a player is probable and they end up not playing. It does happen, but anyway, Zion Williamson, power forward for the New Orleans Pelicans, questionable with an illness tonight, so he might have to sit out of that one. Darius Garland, point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers, remains out. He had a big toe sprain in his right foot. Uh, what I'm seeing here is on January 18th, they said that they will reevaluate him in 7 to 10 days. All right. Aldama, power forward slash center for the Memphis Grizzlies, doubtful to play with a knee issue. When a player is doubtful, there is a good chance that they do not play in those games. Benedict Mathurin, shooting guard slash small forward for the Indiana Pacers, out with a thumb issue. Kristaps Porzingis, power forward slash center for the Atlanta Hawks, is out due to an Achilles issue. DeJounte Murray, point guard slash shooting guard for the New Orleans Pelicans, remains out. He's been out for a while with an Achilles issue. Sam Merrill, shooting guard slash small forward for the Cleveland Cavaliers, is out tonight due to a hand issue. Herbert Jones, small forward slash power forward for the New Orleans Pelicans, is out tonight with an ankle issue. He hasn't played a whole lot lately, anyways. And then we have Reza Shea, the small forward slash power forward for the Atlanta Hawks, out tonight due to a knee issue. Ty Jerome, point guard slash shooting guard for the Memphis Grizzlies, out tonight. And it looks like he's been out, for a while now for the Memphis Grizzlies there. Max Struess, shooting guard slash small forward for the Cleveland Cavaliers, expected to miss more time with a foot issue. He's out tonight. Alvarado, point guard for the New Orleans Pelicans, remains out with an oblique issue. Saloon, power forward for the Charlotte Hornets, is probable to play tonight with an Achilles issue. Caris LeVert, questionable to play tonight for the Detroit Pistons. He's listed as the shooting guard slash small forward here on the FanDuel Daily Fantasy app. Questionable to play tonight due to an illness. Trey Mann, probable to play tonight for the Charlotte Hornets, point guard slash shooting guard. He's dealing with an illness. That looks like about it for the notable injuries on the early games. The later games, Oklahoma City, Milwaukee, Toronto, Sacramento. Kevin Porter, point guard slash shooting guard for the Milwaukee Bucks, is out tonight due to an oblique issue. Sabonis, out tonight for the Sacramento Kings, power forward slash center with just resting is what they have here. RJ Barrett, out tonight, shooting guard slash small forward for the Toronto Raptors with an ankle issue. Hartenstein, center for the Oklahoma City Thunder, out with a calf issue. Colin Murray-Boyles out with a thumb issue tonight for the Toronto Raptors. He's that power forward / center. Achua, the power forward / center for the Sacramento Kings, is questionable with an ankle issue. Aaron Wiggins out with a groin issue tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's listed as the small forward / power forward. Keegan Murray out tonight for the Sacramento Kings. He's listed as the small forward / power forward, out with an ankle issue. Miles Turner, center for the Milwaukee Bucks, out with an ankle issue. Pirtle, the center for the Toronto Raptors, out with a back issue. Jalen Williams, Jaylin, Jalen Williams for the Oklahoma City Thunder, out with a back issue tonight. He's that power forward / center. There are 2 Jalen Williams that play for that team, and they both look like they're out tonight, actually. Yeah. Let me just double check that. Yes. Both of the Jalen Williams for Oklahoma City are out tonight. Caruso, shooting guard / small forward for the Oklahoma City Thunder, is out due to a groin issue tonight. Walter, shooting guard for the Toronto Raptors, out with a hip issue. And that looks like about it for the notable injuries there. Then let's start off with this Cleveland and Charlotte game. Today is Diabate's birthday. Do what you want with that information. Cleveland is the worst team against the spread in the NBA this season. Charlotte is the second best team against the spread in the NBA this season. Cleveland is coming off of a 1-game losing streak. Charlotte's on a 1-game winning streak. This game is in Charlotte. Cleveland, they are 3.5-point favorites in this game. Points in the paint. Charlotte is below average at allowing their opponents to score points in the paint per game this season. They rank 21st in that category. So if you were thinking about Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Donovan Mitchell props, points, you have that working for you tonight. All 3 of those guys are good at scoring points in the paint. Mobley ranks 28th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. Jarrett Allen ranks 35th, and Donovan Mitchell ranks 40th. I would also give Donovan Mitchell a fast breaks advantage tonight. He ranks 5th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. Charlotte ranks 19th in fast break points allowed per game. So Charlotte's defense is below average. If you want to pinpoint this a little bit more, I would try to find a source that you like that gives you defense versus position. If you like Donovan Mitchell tonight, right? He should be. Let me go just double check. He's listed as the point or the shooting guard. He's listed as the point tonight. So I'm here on fantasypros.com, right? And then I can filter this by points, filter it by the point guard position, filter it by points, and then it gives me how many points per game Charlotte allows to point guards. And according to this source, Charlotte allows the 7th most points per game to opposing point guards. All right. And then you could even filter this by 3-pointers. We all know Donovan Mitchell is good at shooting threes. How are the Charlotte Hornets at defending against that? Like I said, though, I'm not going to be diving into all of these player props specifically today. I'm just going to do a quick little rundown here for you guys. Give Donovan Mitchell a fast breaks points advantage there. Cleveland is also below average at defending fast break points per game. They rank 23rd in that category as a team. Brandon Miller ranks 36th best in the NBA in fast break points per game, and then Knippel ranks 48th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. And then both of these teams are also below average as a team at defending against the 3-point shot. Charlotte ranks 16th in 3-point field goals allowed per game. We mentioned Donovan Mitchell is a good 3-point shooter. He ranks second best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. And then Cleveland ranks 24th as a team in 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. LaMelo Ball ranks seventh best in LaMelo Ball ranks seventh best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. Knippel ranks eighth best, and then Miles Bridges ranks 42nd. So there you have that. If you're looking for assist props in this game, both of these teams are below average in allowing their opponents to accumulate assists per game. Once again, if you want to find that defense versus position and solidify a specific position, you can do that there. And then, rebound props for Cleveland tonight. I feel like that line has to be, I don't know, low. They do rank first. Charlotte. Charlotte ranks first in rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. So they're real good at limiting rebounds to opposing teams. Cleveland ranks 21st in rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. So if you were thinking for about a Charlotte Hornet to, get some rebounds today, you got that working for you. And then Cleveland does send their opponents to the free throw line more than league average. They rank 21st in that category. Charlotte limits opponent free throws. They don't send their opponents to the free throw line very often. They rank first in the NBA at limiting those opponent free throw attempts per game. I haven't really had a whole lot of time to look at a whole lot of stuff today, but if I were to go with somebody in this one, I would probably go with Charlotte plus the 3.5 is where I'm thinking, simply because they're the second best team in the NBA against the spread, and Cleveland is the worst team in the NBA against the spread. But we can also go to teamrankings.com. Obviously, there's more information to look at than just, against the spread trends. I don't feel great about that pick, but that's just where I would lean with. And then we could do, as a home underdog, we could filter this on teamrankings.com. As a home underdog, Charlotte is 9-6 against the spread, whereas when Cleveland is a road favorite, they are 3-8 against the spread. So still with that filter, Charlotte is better against the spread. Blessed Up P likes Brandon Miller points tonight. Right on, right on. Yeah, so I'm not going to be, breaking down. I'm not going to be doing the thorough research that I usually do on these shows today. I'm just going to, throw out some information for you guys, and hopefully you find it beneficial for you. All right, Indiana at Boston. Boston has the third best record against the spread this season. They're 24-18. Indiana's 22-22 against the spread. I would figure a lot of people will be on Boston in this game tonight. Indiana is not a very good team this year. They rank 10-30, or their record is 10-34. A lot of that has to do with, injuries, Halliburton being out and all that. But, Jaylen Brown, I see that he has a point in the paint advantage tonight. He is probable to play, all right, but he ranks 11th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game, and Indiana ranks 27th in points in the paint allowed per game. So based on just that factor, I would say that he has a points in the paint advantage. But once again, you may want to go filter this by defense versus position. Because what if Indiana is just locked down at defending that small forward position? What if they're just really bad at defending every other position, but that one position they lock in on, But he's listed as the small forward tonight, Jaylen Brown, And when I'm looking at Indiana and how they defended against that, they look about average in regards to points per game allowed to the small forward position. And, you know, if you like anybody for Indiana tonight shooting threes, they don't have anybody in the top 50 in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. But Boston is vulnerable to the 3-point shot. They rank 26 in 3-point field goals allowed per game. And then if you were looking for a Boston Celtic tonight, getting some boards, Indiana allows the most rebounds per game to opposing teams. Indiana also sends their opponents to the free throw line the second most out of any team in the NBA. So, uh, if you like a player prop for points and they're good at getting to the free throw line, once again, Indiana sends their opponents to the free throw line the second most out of any team in the league. So I feel like Boston or the New York Knicks are going to lose tonight. I really just can't decide which one. But those seem like to be probably the most popular teams on the slate today. Um, Boston on a 1-game losing streak, Indiana on a 2-game losing streak. Let me just glance on this at this Brooklyn and New York Knicks game. The Knicks have won 12 games in a row against Brooklyn, so it's hard for me to imagine the Knicks losing this one. Anything can happen, but I really don't like Indiana here either. I do feel like one of those teams are going to go down tonight. All right. But if I had to pick, give me Boston. Sometimes when we take those big favorites that are supposed to win, like Boston, they're favored by 10.5. Sometimes it does pay off to take that line down some, or maybe even money line it. If Indiana did win tonight, it wouldn't be a huge upset. I mean, it would be, but I believe last night the Utah Jazz were like plus 500 to beat Minnesota. So anything's possible. All right, moving on here. Brooklyn and New York. As I mentioned, the Knicks have won 12 games in a row against Brooklyn. Brooklyn is 20-20-1 against the spread. The Knicks are 21-3 against the spread. So the Brooklyn Nets are a little bit better against the spread than the Knicks are. And then we could filter this by as away underdog, right? Brooklyn as the road dog tonight. What's their against the spread record as a road dog? They're 9-9-1. What about the Knicks as a home favorite? The New York Knicks are 13-8 as a home favorite against the spread. If you like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns tonight, I do give both of them a point in the paint advantage. I didn't filter this by position once again, so I would look into it a little bit more to see how Brooklyn defends against specific positions. But yeah, Brunson ranks 26th in points in the paint per game. Karl Anthony Towns ranks 43rd. And Brooklyn ranks 23rd in points in the paint allowed per game, so they're below average at defending against points in the paint per game. Brooklyn is also bad at defending against the fast break. They rank 28th, so third worst in the NBA in fast break points allowed per game. Mikal Bridges ranks 19th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. Jalen Brunson, I mentioned he probably has that points in the paint advantage tonight. I'd also give him that fast break advantage. He is good at scoring fast break points. Now, I'm just kind of looking at Brooklyn here, though. I'd maybe be a little bit skeptical about Brunson tonight because it looks like Brooklyn's really good at defending against that point guard position. Brooklyn ranks second best, according to fantasypros.com, in limiting points per game to point guards. So But yeah, Michael Porter Jr., I think he's got a good 3-point field goal advantage tonight. Let me just go double check that he's projected to start as that small forward. Yeah, so the Knicks allow the fourth most points per game to small forwards. The Knicks also are the third worst team against 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. Michael Porter Jr. ranks third best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. And the Knicks allow the second most 3-point field goals to opposing small forwards. So I think Michael Porter Jr., I mean, that's what he's really good at. So I think he's, definitely a candidate worth looking at tonight. And then Dimon, if you like Dimon for the Brooklyn Nets, he ranks 38th in 3-point field goals made per game this season. If you like anybody for the New York Knicks assists as a team, Brooklyn ranks 26th in assists allowed per game. So there's not many teams that give up more assists than the Brooklyn Nets. And so I said I want to pick one or the other. One of these teams, either Indiana or Boston, I think might win tonight. Give me Brooklyn. I like that advantage there for Michael Porter Jr., that 3-point field goal advantage. So, give me Brooklyn to cover that plus 12.5. I'd probably take it up to 13.5. But I could also see them winning this game. All right. Let's move on here. Atlanta at Memphis. Atlanta's on a 4-game losing streak. Memphis on a 1-game win streak. CJ McCollum for the Atlanta Hawks needs 3-point field goals to move into 17th place on the all-time 3-point field goals leaders list. He would pass Eric Gordon. Atlanta is 21-24 against the spread this season. Memphis is 18-23. So who is better against the spread, you ask? Atlanta or Memphis? It's going to be Atlanta. They are better against the spread this season. But we could also filter this, by Atlanta as a road dog. I'm seeing that Atlanta's a dog tonight. So Atlanta as a road dog is 8-6. Memphis as a home favorite is 6-4, so they're about even against the spread. You may want to look at some other searches there instead of the ones that I just looked at. Some other filters. Okay, if you're looking for points in the paint per game, I don't know if Zach Edey is back. Is he? Let me look here. No, he's out. So that doesn't apply. But Morant, I would say, has a points in the paint advantage tonight. Same with Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. Atlanta ranks 22nd in points in the paint allowed per game. Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. are both in the top 50 in the NBA in points in the paint per game. So I'll just filter it real quick just to see where Atlanta is more vulnerable at. They're below average at allowing points per game to point guards, according to fantasypros.com. And then same with the center position. Relative to other teams in the league, Atlanta is more vulnerable to allowing points per game to the center position, which is what Jaren Jackson Jr. is projected to play tonight instead of the point guard position. Obviously, there's a lot of research that that still needs to be done and that you guys can do leading up until game time there. And then let's see here. If you like anybody for Memphis to get some fast break points, I didn't see anybody in the top 50 for Memphis in fast break points per game, but that's where Atlanta is very vulnerable. They rank 30th, so no other team allows more fast break points per game than Atlanta does. But Memphis, I guess they haven't been getting a lot of fast break points, or at least there hasn't been a singular player doing that. And then if you like anybody for Atlanta, 3-point field goals, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, or C.J. McCollum. I mentioned McCollum needs 3-point field goals to move into 17th place on the all-time 3-point field goals leaders list. McCollum and Craigie. So all three of those guys rank in the top 40 in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. Nikhil Alexander Walker ranks 11th, McCollum 32nd, and Craigie ranks 40th. Once again, Memphis, if I didn't mention, they rank 25th in 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. So they are vulnerable. It looks like Memphis, I'm just going to glance here. It looks like, according to this source, they allow the second most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing power forwards. And then looks like they're the 8th worst against shooting guards and the 2nd worst against point guards. And it looks like Dyson Daniels is going to be running that point. So how were they against shooting guards here, Memphis? Below average. Yeah, they allowed the 8th most according to this source. So, maybe Alexander Walker finds that 3 ball tonight. And then I think CJ McCollum, when he comes off the bench, he's probably running some shooting guard as well, right? So maybe point. But yeah, Cam Spencer, if you guys like him for some reason tonight for Memphis, then he does rank 44th in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. Atlanta is slightly below average as a team in allowing 3-point field goals per game to opposing teams. If you like anybody from Memphis with the assists tonight, Atlanta ranks 24th in assists allowed per game. Both of these teams are slightly below average as teams in allowing rebounds to opposing teams. And, Atlanta does send their opponents to the free throw line more times per game than league average. So I think this one's pretty close here. I'll probably lean towards Atlanta in this one just because they're on a 4-game losing streak. Let's see if they can bounce back tonight. Once again, though, I haven't had the ample time I usually do to do my research, but I wanted to come on here and give you guys this information. I know how important injury updates and just little information like this can be for you guys. So, Detroit, New Orleans Pelicans. Detroit's on a 3-game win streak. The Pelicans are on a 2-game losing streak. The Pelicans have won the last 7 out of 10 games against Detroit. Who is better against the spread? It's close. Detroit and New Orleans. Detroit is better against the spread this season, but that may be a different case if you filter it by Detroit against the spread as a road favorite versus the Pelicans as a home underdog. So I think that information is definitely worth looking at. I just haven't had the time to today, but if you're interested in that, I do think it's valuable. And then points in the paint allowed per game. New Orleans ranks 3rd worst. They allow the 3rd most points in the paint per game to opposing teams. So Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham tonight, based on that alone, are in good spots here. But I would also go look. I know I keep saying this, but that's just in case people are just tuning in. I would go look at the defense versus that specific position because it doesn't tell the full story, right? I think Duren runs center. So I'm just going to look to see how many points per game New Orleans allows to opposing centers. They allow the 5th most points per game to opposing centers. And then, the Pelicans to that point guard position look like they're a little bit better, So, and we already mentioned Cade Cunningham is questionable to play tonight due to an illness. So, I would think that Duren's usage would go up too if Cade Cunningham were to be ruled out. And not just that, but it looks like Duren has a better situation here just because of that lack of center defense by by New Orleans. New Orleans seems like they're a little bit better at guarding that point guard position in regards to points per game allowed relative to other teams in the league. Then Cade Cunningham, I do give him a fast breaks advantage tonight. Fast break points per game advantage. He ranks 16th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. The Pelicans ranked 25th in fast break points allowed per game to opposing teams. And then Duncan Robinson, uh, he looks like, yeah, he's listed as the uh, the likely starter shoot for the shooting guard position here for Detroit today. And just off the first glance, looks like he has a 3-point field goal advantage. He ranks 20th in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. The Pelicans allow the second most 3-point field goals per game to opposing teams. And according to fantasypros.com, the Pelicans allow the second most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing shooting guards. So I think Duncan Robinson is in an advantageous spot there. Obviously, I would like to look at his history against the Pelicans and so on and so forth. But I don't have the time to today. But the Pelicans rank second worst in assists allowed per game. So if you like anybody for Detroit with the assists tonight or rebounds, basically shop is open tonight for Detroit. Players. So as long as it's not a blowout, Detroit is favored by a good amount. I think it was 9.5 or 10.5 last that I checked. Okay. And then Detroit sends their opponents to the free throw line more than any other team in the league. So if you do like somebody for the Pelicans tonight, I mentioned Zion Williamson is questionable, but if you like anybody tonight for the Pelicans and they're good at getting to the free throw line, heck, they might not even be good at getting to the free throw line. They just might do it tonight, considering the Pistons allow their opponents to get to the free throw line more times per game than any other team in the league. Um, I like the I, I like the Pelicans. I don't necessarily like them in this game, but I like Zion Williamson and Derek Queen. Um, but Cade Cunningham is questionable to play, so I would think that the line is. I don't know if the line is necessarily set for him to play or not. My guess is that if he doesn't play, that line will go down. If he does play, it might go up a little bit. So it might be worth the wait to see if he's going to play or not. But anyways, let's move on to this next game here. We have two more games to talk about, and I'm going to wrap up here. Oklahoma City at Milwaukee. Oklahoma City's on a 3-game win streak against Milwaukee, but Giannis has an 8-2 career record against SGA, and Giannis has had a triple double in his last 2 games against SGA. Oklahoma City is better against the spread this season than Milwaukee, and both of these teams are good at defending points in the paint per game. Both of these teams are above average at limiting fast break points per game. Specifically, Oklahoma City, they rank first in that category. But both of these teams are below average, nearing the bottom of the league in 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. So if you like any 3-point shooters in this game tonight, I think this could be a good spot for you. Isaiah Joe ranks 45th in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. When I think of Oklahoma City, I don't think they're like a very great 3-point shooting team, but Isaiah Joe is somebody that comes to mind for 3-pointers, and then Dort. But as far as the Milwaukee side of the ball, AJ Green, Miles Turner, but he's out tonight. So, but Ryan Rollins as well, are guys to look at. I'm not saying that they're going to do good. I would look to see, how Oklahoma City defends against their specific positions. How do they defend against the 3-pointer to that specific position? Or if they're coming off the bench, how is their bench defense? If you like anybody for Oklahoma City, assists tonight, Milwaukee ranks 18th in assists allowed per game, so they're below average at limiting opponent assists. Both of these teams are nearing the bottom of the league in rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. Milwaukee ranks 20th. Oklahoma City ranks 25th in rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. So if you like anybody on the boards tonight, I think that could be an advantageous spot for you. Free throws, Milwaukee ranks 25th, so not many other teams send their opponents to the free throw line more than Milwaukee. We know SGA is somewhat of a free throw merchant. I've heard people reference to him as a free throw merchant. maybe that will be the case here tonight. But I'm gonna have to lean towards Milwaukee in this one. I like uh, Milwaukee. I would say in this one plus the 11.5. I would probably feel more comfortable at 13.5. But I think there's a possibility Milwaukee can win this game. I like the fact that Giannis has an 8-2 career record against SGA. Um, and I just got a feeling about Milwaukee in this one. Um, Milwaukee is a home underdog. We can check their record against the spread as a home dog. They're 4-5 against the spread as a home underdog. Oklahoma City, 10-11. I just think there may be a good amount of people on Oklahoma City here in this one. I'm going to lean towards Milwaukee covering that. And then Toronto at Sacramento. Toronto is on a 1-game win streak. Sacramento 2-game losing streak. Toronto is better against the spread than Sacramento. Sacramento is the second worst team against the spread this season. I think Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett. I think Barrett's out, right? Yeah, Barrett is out, but Scotty Barnes looks like he's going to play tonight. He's the projected starting center for Toronto tonight, so looks like they may be playing a little bit of small ball there. But Scotty Barnes ranked 16th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game, and Sacramento allows the second most points in the paint per game to opposing teams. So they allow the second most points per game to opposing centers, is what I'm seeing here. And let's say he does slide over to the power forward position a little bit. Sacramento allows the sixth most points per game to opposing power forwards, according to fantasypros.com. So I think Scotty Barnes is in a pretty good situation there in regards to points in the paint per game. But, the fast break points and the 3-pointers, both of these teams are good at defending against that. Not saying that these teams can't, put up a good amount of fast break points and or 3-point field goals, because anything can happen any given night. But, statistically, yeah, both of these teams are above average at limiting their opponents to fast break points and 3-point field goals. Assists allowed per game, Sacramento ranks 20th, so they're slightly below average in assists allowed per game to opposing teams. So if you like anybody for Toronto with the assists tonight, you got that working for you. But if it were me, I would go, filter this. Let's say Scotty Barnes assists. I know people are interested in that. I'd filter this by the center position, and then I would filter it by the assist and see how many assists per game Sacramento is allowing to the center position. They are below average, and then I'd even move it over to the power forward position. So I got a good feel about that. They look slightly below average in that category as well. Rebounds allowed per game. If you like anybody for Toronto, getting some rebounds, Sacramento ranks 24th in rebounds allowed per game. Maybe this is a good game for Scotty Barnes to get some rebounds, because he is the projected center tonight for Toronto. Will that happen or not? We'll see. That lineup hasn't been confirmed yet, but Sacramento does allow the fourth most rebounds per game to opposing teams. Both of these teams do send their opponents to the free throw line more than league average. So if you like anybody for points in this one, and they're good at getting to the free throw line, I think that's an added benefit for them. I'm going to go with Toronto in this one, a -6.5. I'd feel better at -5.5. -6.5, I'm seeing as -102. So if we got that at -5.5, it's probably -120 or something like that. Maybe even 4.5, 3.5. Just really depends on what you guys are comfortable with. I like the fact that Toronto, I've liked Toronto from the start of the season. I did a NBA show at the very beginning, I think before any game started. And, Toronto was one of my sleeper teams. And I, think they're going under the radar a little bit. They have a 26-19 record this season. They're still dealing with some injuries and whatnot with Barrett and Pirtle. But, overall, I think they're somewhat solid there. And I don't like the fact that Sacramento is the second worst team against the spread. Sabonis is out tonight. Keegan Murray out. Achua is looking like he's questionable to play in this one. So, but anyways, I think that about does it for me. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Gold, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. We appreciate you guys, and then we appreciate you guys out there tuning in to us on the regular, or even if you're just stopping by. We really appreciate you guys. If you could hit that subscribe button before you bounce out of here, that would be appreciated. If not, I appreciate you for tuning in anyways. So I'll see you guys soon. I don't know exactly when, but I usually make an announcement. But I know how important these injury updates are for you guys. So I wanted to, at least come on here for a few minutes and give you guys that information. Let's see what the schedule's looking like for tomorrow. And then before I get out of here, I'm going to see if we have any other injury updates. So, I might have more time tomorrow, probably not to do, more thorough research with you guys, but if not, sometime soon. And then we got those NFL games coming up on Sunday, which should be fun. But yeah, let me refresh this real quick to see if we have any other injury updates, and then I'm going to get out of here. Jaylen Brown, probable to play, likely to play. We're still waiting on, I would say, the ones to keep up to date with are going to be Cade Cunningham. He's questionable. Point guard for the Detroit Pistons. Zion Williamson, power forward for the New Orleans Pelicans. Both of these guys are questionable with illnesses. And then Risa Shea is out. I think I already mentioned that, but there you go. In case I didn't, he's with Atlanta. Caruso, Hartenstein. I mentioned a lot of it at the start of the segment. In case you guys missed it, you can go back and listen to that. I don't think much has changed. Achua, he's questionable to play tonight, but I would say those are the three biggest injuries. But injury updates to keep up with. But sometimes players are late scratches. There are times where you think somebody's playing and, 5 minutes before tip-off, they decide not to play. It does happen. It's very rare, though. All right. But, anyways, thanks for tuning in. Good luck, everybody, and I'll see you soon.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.